What's up, guys? This is Brent with 24/7 Parts. Let's jump right on in and talk about just a couple of things to consider when you are looking into buying a heat gun. Now, what you are going to see nowadays, you are going to see two different kinds. You are going to have your standard electric plug-in style heat gun, as we see here, and then you're also going to have the option for battery-powered heat guns as well, like we have here in this DeWalt. Now, the one thing to consider here is what type of tasks are we doing with this heat gun? Specifically, how much time are we going to be using it? How much of that sustained heat are we going to need? How much time do we need run time to be able to get that job done that we're doing? So whenever we're thinking about these things, one thing that we need to consider is that obviously with our plug-in electric heat gun, you can run this thing as long as you have electricity to plug it into. With our battery powered one, you are going to be limited, of course, to the amount of battery life that you have on this tool. Now, the other thing to think about when we are thinking about our battery powered options here is that whenever these heat guns are working, what they're doing is that battery is sending juice from the battery up to the heating element, providing that power source from the bottom to the top, and heating up an element to provide a heat source is going to be one of the most power draining things in all of tools. So one thing that we're gonna have to think about is that the battery life on this may not be able to hold up to the job that you wanna do. So to show you that, what we're gonna do now is I'm gonna go ahead and set this thing up, lock the trigger, have it start, and then set a timer to see just how much runtime you can get out of one of these. Now, what we're using on this test is going to be the DeWalt with the 20-volt max. This also is going to have a high and low setting, so we'll make sure and flip it up to that high setting, and then I will pull the trigger, lock it, we'll set a timer, and see just how much runtime you're going to get out of a battery unit. Starting our time now. All right, so just like that on high here, as I'm pulling the trigger, we can hear that start to die. It is dead, pulling there. And the runtime that we got off of this was only 3 minutes and 42 seconds. Now, I have seen some other videos online where guys have tested this out. They put it on low, they've locked that trigger, and then they've got somewhere around 15 to 16 minutes of runtime off of these things. But guys, whenever you are talking about running one of these heat guns, the amount of heat that they are rated for, which for instance, this machine here is rated for between 550 degrees to 990 degrees. That is the amount of heat that it's going to put out to be able to heat up whatever those things are that you're doing. So the other thing that you have to think about is that the batteries on these are going to get hot. So we want to make sure that whenever we are using this, if we're using one of these battery powered guns, that we are only using it for those small, short applications. Maybe we're having to just splice together a couple of wires, heat up a little bit of heat shrink to go on those wires. Maybe we're using it for a small decal removal. Maybe we're using it just to heat up a piece of plastic tubing to get those fittings in. Just easy stuff like that. This is not going to be your long range option. Now, going into that a little further, the amount of heat needed is also going to be one of those factors whenever we're looking at these guns. Now, like I said, this one here rated for that 550 to 990. This one here is going to be rated for around 1100 degrees. So these are going to have a different amount of output depending on whether it is an electric plug-in or if it is a battery. So if you're needing something that's going to be hotter for longer, we definitely want to look at the plug-in option. If we're looking for that quick fix, that easy to have, this is going to be a great option to have around your house for those small jobs. This is going to be more of your industrial style heat gun that's used for those long time applications, those more industrial style needs. So let's go ahead and get into a fun part of the test. Let's go ahead and do a heat test on these guns and see just how much we can heat up each end of this lawnmower blade with these heat guns. Now, I've got a thermometer here, so we'll go ahead and check what the temperature is on our blade here. 61.9 degrees Fahrenheit over here. right around 61, 61. All right, so we're right around 61 degrees Fahrenheit on either end of this blade. So what I'm gonna do is that I'm gonna heat up one side here that has my flat side on it with the electric gun here. I'm gonna set a timer for 1 minute. Hold that about 4 or 5 inches away. Let that run for that minute on high at the highest setting. See what temperature we can get that blade up to. Then I'll spin it here in the middle and do the other flat side here so that we can see how well these guns work. All right, so I'm gonna spin my dial here to the hottest temperature setting here. Put it up on 2. Start the time. All right, so after 60 seconds, we were at 60 degrees. Let's check it again here now. Now I'm reading 146. So in a matter of a minute, we were able to heat that up over 80 degrees. So that is warm. I can hold my hand over that. It's still warm. We're still cold over here on this end, so I'm gonna rotate this blade around, make sure we didn't have a temperature change here. And we did. We went up to about 65. So 65 is where we're gonna start over here. We've got our battery powered unit on high. Raise that up. Hit the start button on our timer, pull the trigger. Let's see what we get. All right, now let's see what we are over here. So the hottest temperature I'm reading over here is 94.9. So that is a massive difference, guys. That is something that you should definitely consider. Now, whenever we were over here and we started with our battery powered, we were at 65 degrees on this tip of the blade. We went for 1 minute and we raised it up 30 degrees from 65 to 95. When we were down here on this end with the plug-in style on its hottest setting, we went from 61 degrees up to 146 degrees, an 80 degree difference in 1 minute. Now, if you are looking for efficiency, if you're looking for it to get hot and for it to get hot fast, I would definitely once again look at the plug-in version of these heat guns. If you are looking for something to get you by, maybe you're out in the field, you're a technician, maybe you work in a shop, you're needing to do some small electrical work, you're working around the house, you've got just some small projects that you need to do, then maybe the battery powered option is the way to go. Now, the other thing to keep in mind whenever we're talking about these is a safety concern. We've got to think about the fact of how hot those ends are getting on these guns. So we want to make sure that whenever we are using these, we're using these in a safe environment. A lot of times if we're talking about doing electrical work, we might be working around areas maybe that have fuel or that have other flammable material, and we want to make sure that we're not touching the ends of these guns after they've been used to anything that could cause you any issues. So make sure that we're being careful there. Now, I know when we're talking about tools, there should be a lot more things to consider, but really guys, a heat gun is a very, very simple tool. It has one function, it's to heat things up. So the two main things that you need to consider is how long are you going to need that thing to run and how hot can it get? So other than that, the third and final thing that you need to consider is price. Now there is a substantial difference in price between these two units. I can tell you that this one right here, I picked up at our local hardware store for right around $50. This unit over here, without the battery, once we take this battery out, have just the tool itself and a couple of accessories that go around the nozzle, you're looking at $150 at least, plus the cost of whichever battery you are going to get. So that is also something to consider whenever you're looking at these units. But other than that, guys, those are the things to think about. You saw the heat test, you saw the performance difference between the two, you know a little bit about each one. So now it's time to make that decision on which one is right for you. So guys, I hope this video helped you out. I hope that you liked this video. If you did, we just ask you to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. Also guys, if you are looking for any other videos on lawn care maintenance and John Deere equipment and other tool videos, make sure to check out the videos on this channel. And as always guys, thanks for watching. We'll see you next time. Hey guys, make sure to go buy your parts right here and subscribe right here.